how does serotonin and dopamine work together in addiction? You'd be surprised, and there's new research that's covering these. This and more in our host-only edition of the Decision Lab. Don't miss out. See you on the inside. All right, what is up? Welcome back to Decision Lab, where we cut through the BS and help you stay up to date on everything health, wellness, and emerging technology. Today, it's just Chloe and I. We're doing these on Thursdays now. Today, we're talking about serotonin and dopamine research. It's brand new that I think you're going to find fascinating. And then a couple of women's health topics that are like fresh off the press as far as breaking news. So let us dive in. Before we do, Chloe, how you doing? How's your life been?
My life has been
some wild
chaotic. So life update, I've been traveling in South America, and I'm in Colombia right now, and I had a wild 2 weeks. So kicked off with me getting bit by a dog. So I had to do a full rabies prophylaxis.
The whole thing.
The whole thing.
Rabies.
So it's 4 shots, and like I didn't realize how bad it would be, but getting 4 doses of a vaccine in 2 weeks is like really pro-inflammatory. So I was just like not feeling well for a while. But rabies free. And then I got robbed. So I was unfortunately just like walking down the street and I got robbed. Walking down the street, like not paying enough attention. I think I got a little cocky because nothing bad had happened after being in Colombia or South America for 4 months. And then, yeah, a man on a motorbike just came by, grabbed my purse off me, took my phone, headphones, a couple credit cards. And so, yeah, so that was a little bit dysregulating on the nervous system, I would say. More like manageable, but just frustrating, especially, being a content creator, like I need a cell phone, all of these things. Luckily, my biggest godsend was that like, everything was backed up. So not the end of the world, but not fun.
Right. Still kind of a violation. That would suck. I remember like you just say, yeah, the rabies, and then you message me and you're like, I got robbed. I'm like, no fucking way. That sucks. Okay, so you did the rabies vaccine, or you went through the rabies vaccine. What was that like? What you said it pro-inflammatory, but what did it feel like? What were the exact things you were going through?
Yeah. So, like for me, actually, like it's such a funny thing. Like there's a lot of like nervous system things that happened for me too that I want to like really quickly touch on because like I'm somebody who's like I love dogs. I have never been afraid of dogs before in my entire life, and it's kind of crazy how much it dysregulated me because unfortunately there's a lot of like street dogs and homeless dogs and running through some of these areas, like a lot of the dogs are really aggressive and it never really bothered me before. But now, like I'm having more of a nervous system reaction around dogs, even though like I love dogs, but and it wasn't a bad bite, like it was more of a warning bite, but still it just really like dysregulated me. And then so the process when you get a rabies vaccine, it's 4 shots. So you have to do it on day 0, day 3, day 7, and day 14. Because if you get rabies, like if you start showing symptoms, it's usually too late and you'll die. And it's a really brutal, painful way to die. And waiting in a Colombian hospital, not really speaking enough Spanish to like articulate what happened. Like I can speak enough Spanish not to get a rabies vaccine. And so it was an interesting process.
Dude, I'd be sitting there like, Pero.
Well, I had a phone then at the time. So Google Translate was very, very helpful. Yeah.
Dude, just another one for the books. I seriously, if I travel all over, I either will bring you with me or just have you prep me for
absolutely.
You need to create a survival guide. You should create a traveling survival guide. That's what you should do. I know you have your ADHD, biohacking ADHD book you just released. And if you haven't checked that out, please go to Chloe Goes Inward and check that out. But holy shit, you need a travel guide.
Yeah, and maybe like something for like a travel guide for the anxious and attention deficit.
100%.
Yeah.
Like 100%. That's a great idea. All right, you heard it here first, folks.
Okay.
So that's been
to be launched next, the next ebook.
Yeah. So, all right, wild life updates. For me, we've got a new intern for my Mind Brain Body Lab. So training her up. She's awesome. I'm excited. She's got me looking at all sorts of different types of content. I didn't know. Did you know that eating content is a thing? I forgot what it's called,
Oh,
like
like mukbang?
mabang or
Mukbang?
mukbang. Yeah.
You didn't know about
Dude,
mukbang?
no, no, I
Oh my
didn't.
God. Yeah, it's a whole thing.
So she's got me, she's like, you should make something and talk about mental health things while you eat. And I'm like, oh, okay. I didn't even know this is a freaking thing. Like, so yeah, she's literally less
You're
than a
starting
day in and already
mukbang?
suggesting things like that. Hey,
Oh
I'll
my
try
God.
anything.
You need
Like,
you
I
need a
don't care.
really
Like,
good mic.
if it works, it works. I want the message to get to people.
Yeah, honestly, I have thought about doing that, is getting like a really good quality mic and like eating, but I just like hate when people watch me eat. So this would be like a fear I have to get over.
Well, maybe we can do the first one together or something. But because you also,
Okay.
like, I've seen you on or like we'll hop on like a team call or something like that, and you're eating something that looks amazing. So it's like aesthetic, and that's a part of it apparently. Is it's got to be aesthetic, I guess. So
Yeah, my food game is strong. I have a really
that would
strong food
be
game.
yeah. So it'd be interesting to see you do some of that stuff. I want to try some of it too. So, but I don't know that you need help. You've been growing like a wildfire right now on Chloe Goes Inward. So you've definitely hit something culturally with the
Yeah, it's been
ADHD,
exciting.
biohacking ADHD, and all that stuff. So great work on that.
Hmm.
All right, sweet. So we've got a packed docket today. The first thing that I wanted to talk about today is this new research that I saw. I don't know. Do you follow
Hmm.
Dr. Brian Wren, Stanford neuroscientist?
No, but I should.
Yeah, he's awesome, and he posted this like explainer video on this, and so I dove into the research and was looking at some of it myself. But essentially, what this research found is it's from it's research out of Harvard or whatever, and essentially what it found is that it was looking at dopamine, and I'm just
Hmm.
like, dude, this is the coolest thing I've ever heard in my freaking life. I am so pumped. Uh, I'm so pumped to learn about this, and it has to do with. Let me see if I can pull up the paper here. Here we go. Uh, but it has to do with dopamine, and essentially what it found is that serotonin and dopamine are released at different rates uh, when you measure reward inside of a brain, essentially, like these rat brains that they were doing this research on. And what they found is that when dopamine is high and serotonin is low, like there's a increase in dopamine and a decrease in serotonin, there's a higher reward rate or like an addiction rate
Hmm.
if you kind of think about it. And so what they then did is they tried to see if they could get the same result if they just increased dopamine without serotonin, and they didn't find the same result. It was not as rewarding to these rat brains. And then they decreased serotonin without increasing dopamine, and that also did not create a higher reward rate. They had to both happen at the same time. And so, bottom line, this might mean that a lot of serotonin could counteract dopamine. So, without serotonin, dopamine can have its maximum effect. It makes you the most addicted. Okay. And you can see this in drugs too. Like think about cocaine. Cocaine stimulates dopamine primarily and it's highly addictive. But MDMA stimulates dopamine and serotonin. So it's less addictive. It's known to be less addictive. So serotonin could be acting like a brake on dopamine in some way, is essentially what this research kind of came to and found out. Does that make sense?
Hmm. That makes complete sense. Even when you look at like serotonin and dopamine from like a survival perspective, like what does dopamine do? Dopamine drives you to hunt. And so, and then once you have your kill, you have your food, then the serotonin increases when you're satiated, right? Like actually when your gut gets distended, when it expands, you produce serotonin. And so it makes sense that like you would just
Right.
continue seeking and seeking and seeking until you get serotonin.
Yeah, yeah. So the reason I brought this up is like, why does this matter to the average consumer, or like, what does this have to do with like anything? From my
Mm-hmm.
perspective, the first thing that I thought about is I was really curious how this could affect and shift addiction recovery and therapy. So like, imagine
Hmm.
if like an exposure therapy of sorts, kind of, but instead of just the addictive thing like drugs, sex, alcohol, porn, whatever it is, you pair it with some kind of exposure to serotonin, right? Then the experience is not as addictive anymore. Or you depair the addictive, pleasurable feeling, the rewarding feeling of the high dopamine with serotonin. And that was something that I was like, dude, no freaking way. That would be insane. Like, and I low key feel like sometimes IFS does this pretty well. Like,
Hmm.
because I feel like serotonin, oxytocin, some of those things when you're working with an exile and working with trauma, like, I don't know, I feel like it does help like release some of those traumatic memories and thoughts and stuff in the body. So I don't know. What are your thoughts? I just thought it was interesting.
Yeah, I mean, like from a nervous system regulation standpoint, like when it comes to addiction, trauma, what have you, like if you have more serotonin, it's going to make everything easier to handle. More serotonin, more oxytocin, because you're going to be calmer, you're going to be more relaxed, you're going to be deeply connected to love, you're going to make better decisions. So it's just a cascade effect, in my opinion. Um, that could be really, really helpful when it comes to addiction, when it comes to so many other things.
Yeah, yeah. So key takeaway, I think this is preliminary. That's not preliminary research. It is like research that's been done or whatever.
Hmm.
There's still a lot that needs to be done to like substantiate some of these claims and some of these thoughts, but it's an interesting perspective. I'll link the study below, and I'll also link the Dr. Bryan's review of the study below. Key takeaway for me is hypothetically, if you're struggling with an addiction of some kind, maybe try to pair it with some type of natural serotonin releaser like sunlight, physical exercise. There's all sorts of like dietary things that you can do, like flax seeds, salmon that can with omega-3s. Getting a massage or physical connection or physical touch is a great way to do this. Social connection, like meditation, relaxation, laughter, humor. All of these are great ways to increase serotonin, and potentially when paired with the thing you're addicted with, maybe it could help you break that addiction more. Don't know. It's preliminary. Let me very much and clearly state it's preliminary research here, people, but kind of interesting and something that's on the front line. So thought it'd be interesting to bring up today. Any final thoughts on that?
I think you nailed it.
Fire. The next thing I want to hit on. So it's Women's Health Month. I think
Woo.
I don't know if this is like globally or a US thing or however it works, but I'm in the US, so it's Women's Health Month for sure here. And so I want the next couple topics I wanted to bring up or kind of chat about is a couple women's topics. Something I found interesting is there was a survey of American women and what they're prioritizing this year, their 2025 goals. We're like what 2 months in now to 2025, and it found that women are prioritizing mental strength. 58% of them are, and stress reduction. 58% mental strength and stress reduction in 2025. That was the top two things. Other goals were weight loss, improved sleep
Hmm.
quality, healthier eating habits, and increased physical strength. So physical and mental strength, I think that's awesome. What are your thoughts on this? I thought this was kind of interesting.
I am absolutely in love with this movement of women and everyone prioritizing mental health and reducing cortisol. I think just over, let's call it the last year and a half, we've really seen a jump in social media trends of people looking at stress reduction and cortisol. We now finally have this understanding of like just how damaging chronically high cortisol can be for your body. And now we're hyper aware of it. And so I love this trend. I think it's super, super exciting. And looking back to where I was 5 years ago, where many other five women were 5 years ago, like we were trying to fit into a man's world. I mean, we still are, but we don't just have a 24-hour circadian rhythm. We have a 28-day hormonal cycle as well. And like it doesn't work with the normal like 9 to 5. And many of us are in overdrive, we're stressed. And so we're now starting to learn to prioritize our mental health and how to like work within our own bodies and how to lower cortisol. And I think this is going to be like really exciting where we're really going to start seeing women tap into their like true potential.
Yeah, I love it. I think that this is huge. My girlfriend is struggling with she has a high stress job as well, and so
Hmm.
she is on this path as well, trying to reduce stress, um, and how it affects her body. And I just connected her with a neuroendocrinologist that I think she's awesome. She's here in town, and she is focused on this as well. So it's like people close to me care about this as well and are really focused on this as well. So it's interesting to see a statistic related in real life. Something that I came up with and I like crafted for to help Mel, some like of the top things that I've suggested, or I would suggest, based on like what I know about the nervous system and trauma, and because trauma affects the nervous system in a similar way. Chronic stress over time, trauma
Hmm.
does a
Yeah.
similar thing as external stress from a job or from a relationship or whatever. Um, and so some supplements and some things that I have found super helpful, and I'm sure you can attest to all of these, but magnesium, obviously, that's a big one. Um, ashwagandha, L-theanine, rhodiola, vitamin D, and turmeric or curcumin or however you say that word. I can never say it correctly.
Curcumin.
Are some of the
Yeah.
biggest ones. Yeah, yeah, there you go. Are some of the biggest ones that I have found to be really, really helpful and effective for people trying to become less stressed overall. What are your thoughts on those?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So I can give you my like really quick rundown on like how to become less stressed 101. So it's
Please.
making sure like first of all, like your foundation is good. So are you sleeping enough? Are you getting enough water? Are you nourishing your body in the right way? And are you getting exercise? That's the foundation because if these pillars fall down, like there's no supplement on earth that's going to help you, right? Like if you're not sleeping, you're going to be stressed and your body's not going to feel safe. And so, something that's been so deeply impactful for me is with every single thing that I do when I'm trying to regulate my nervous system, is ask, is this action going to make my body feel safe or is it going to make it unsafe? And so, going to bed at a consistent time,
Wow.
drinking enough water, eating healthy, that's going to create safety in my body. But starving myself, maybe overworking out, that's not going to make my body feel safe. And so, there's the foundation. Um, and then supplementing can be also super, super, super helpful. So when it comes to supplements, like what you just listed off, totally correct. And then there's a lot of like vitamins that are really helpful, like vitamin D3, K2, making sure you're getting B vitamins, omega 3s, um, vitamin C. These are all really, really helpful to create that additional foundation of safety in the body. And then when the stress comes up, how do you handle it? And it's having like a toolkit to regulate your nervous system for when high stress arises. So, breathing through it using physiological sigh or humming to bring your nervous system back into a
Yeah.
relaxed state.
Something else is like, what does we just mentioned a ton of different supplements, but which are the right ones for you and in what dosages, and like what are you deficient in? So if you have access to someone who can get you individualized lab results, or like we've interviewed on the pod on the main show, Bionic, and they do blood
Mhm.
tests, and they even have like an AI little testing you can do with a survey to figure out what you may be deficient in or what you might be low in for you specifically, as opposed to just some general supplement protocol necessarily. um, if you can get some of that personalized information, I feel like that's highly valuable.
Yeah, I completely agree. Like, especially like if you live far away from the equator, like chances are like there's a high probability that you are deficient in vitamin D and like very deficient. And vitamin D is a precursor to serotonin. It's so helpful for mood, and that can make symptoms of anxiety so much worse. People don't realize it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I completely agree. It's interesting too. Some of the other things that you had mentioned, like the base, like every time someone comes to me and is asking about how to improve their mental health, I always ask the things you do, like, are you sleeping? How are you eating? Are you
Hmm.
exercising? Are you playing and socially connecting with others? Do you have something for stress reduction in your life? Like the core basic body budget.
Hmm.
How are you doing there? And you
Yeah.
mentioned that's one of the best ways to reduce stress. And some of the other things that people, the top goals for women in 2025 were weight loss in general. So, like starting to work on diet, nutrition, and things like that, improving their quality of sleep, healthier eating habits, and increased physical strength or like physical activity. So, they also have goals. I feel like this is a complete guess, but it feels like people are starting to connect those things with stress reduction and mental health finally. So, it's kind of
Yes.
cool to
Yeah.
see. So I'm excited. What do you think? One thing I'm curious is that 58% of these women said that prioritizing mental strength is one of their top goals in 2025. What does mental strength mean to you?
For me, mental strength is mental capacity. So it's your ability to handle hard things in life. That's what mental strength means to me. And so if you are dysregulated, if you have a negative attitude when the hard and challenging things come your way, you're not going to be able to handle them as well. And so you can
Nice.
completely train this. right? If you heal your nervous system, increase your capacity, life is still going to throw hard things at you, but you're going to just be able to handle it so much more. And it's going to feel
Right.
easier and it's going to feel flowy and it can even feel fun at times to overcome these
Yeah.
challenges.
Yeah, I like that. The way I think about it is the way I think about mental strength is in antifragility. I don't know if you've ever heard this
Yeah.
concept, but
Yeah.
fragile people are like a candle in a windstorm. It just gets snuffed out. Uh, Resilient people are like a torch that they can survive a windstorm, and it doesn't matter how hard the wind blows, like the torch is going to stay lit. But anti-fragile people are like a wildfire, and wind makes them bigger and stronger. And so adversity and challenges and things like that can either snuff you out like a candle, you can survive it like uh, a torch, or you can become bigger and stronger like a wildfire. And that when I hear mental strength, that's kind of what I think.
Okay, I lost you for a sec.
Whoopsies.
But I think it was like
Yeah.
probably a good place because you're just explaining that, and that's like probably a good end of a thought.
Perfect. What was the last thing you heard me say?
You said anti-fragility, or like people that are anti-fragile are like a wildfire.
Yes, 100%. That's the
I
way I think about
really,
mental strength.
I love that. Yeah,
So you
I
can either
really
get
love that
snuffed out
concept.
like a candle, you can either survive adversity, just
Hmm.
survive adversity like a torch, or you can become bigger and stronger because of it, post-traumatic growth. So it's interesting. And that's kind of when I hear mental strength, that's what I think about.
Yeah. So I have this tattoo, and it's the combustion of methanol. It's probably backwards because of the way the screen is. But so basically, for me, it's a metaphor for what life hands you. And so,
Mm.
methanol, if you drink it, you'll go irreversibly blind. But if you set it on fire, it's fuel. So if you're mentally strong, it's like you can either drink the poison or use it as fuel.
Holy shit, that's wild. What an interesting what an interesting concept. That's cool. I like that.
Hmm. Yeah,
All right.
nerdy chemical engineering things.
Hey, I love that. All right, next up, the next topic is from Halle Berry. Haven't heard from her in a while, but crazily enough, she is celebrating a menopause milestone. So she's 58, and she is going to commiserate her transition into menopause with a siesta coming up here in March. And what she's trying to do is highlight the importance of recognizing and celebrating this significant life stage for women. So I just thought that was kind of an interesting concept. I hadn't heard that before.
I think it's interesting, and I think it's really exciting that she's shedding light on it. I have a lot of thoughts on this. Two things, like we need a lot more focus, attention, resources, and research on menopause. And I think it is great that she's celebrating it. But on the other side of things, menopause is very, very challenging for women. And it's been pushed under the rug for so long, but many women go through absolute hell during this change in their life. And so I think, yes, it should be celebrated, but it should also be understood that this is an extremely challenging time for women.
Yeah. Yeah. What are some of the challenges? Like, what are some of the biggest challenges for women when they go through menopause?
You have a complete change of hormones, like you lose your estrogen. So that affects everything from like your mood to your sleep wake cycles. Women typically put on weight, they have hot flashes, and menopause can last anywhere from like 5 to sometimes 10 years. And you also lose a lot
What?
of like bone density. Your metabolism changes. Like this is a very, very difficult transition time for women, and women are being misdiagnosed. So women will go to doctors, and doctors will very often prescribe them antidepressants. And what they actually need is probably like hormone replacement therapy, or maybe like a natural form of that to start like fixing and making adjustments for the hormones that they're losing. But yeah, this is a very, very challenging time for a woman.
Holy crap. That is nuts. I continuously am just grateful that I am just bluntly grateful that I'm a guy. Like I could not imagine how hard it is to have to deal with all these things. Like periods throughout your entire life, and once you get old enough and like in adolescence, and then post fertility, you go through menopause, and it's just like, oh my goodness, it just never
Well,
stops.
And also pregnancy. Pregnancy is a massive
Dude,
hormonal shift for your body too. So you literally go through periods, pregnancy, menopause.
Christ almighty.
And like we are just scratching the surface of this being researched.
That's
Just
nuts.
just scratching the surface. And so women have been like left out in the cold and be like, oh, that's just normal for you to have hot flashes and weight gain and like mood swings and bone loss. The list goes on and on. There's so many symptoms of menopause. But yeah, it's science has really like left women behind when it comes to menopause.
Damn. Yeah, that sucks. Well,
Mhm.
I'm glad that Halle Berry's doing this siesta then and bringing some attention to menopause and hopefully some menopause research. Is that, who would that be? Is that an endocrinologist? Is that a OBGYN? Like, that's an MD. Like, who would be, I'm just curious, who would be the researcher for this kind of stuff? Like, or for these types of topics?
I would say both.
Yeah, OBs with like the real world clinical data and clinical experience, and then researchers like maybe endocrinologists, neuroendocrinologists, pharmacologists, things like that to help with the lab bench stuff.
Yeah, I also think we need to take like a holistic approach to this and with
Fair.
like modern medicine, modern allopathic medicine, we look at like one system, right? Like you have a gastrointestinal doctor that looks at just the stomach, but like the stomach will impact so many other things in the body, and we need to take like a holistic approach of looking at what's happening in menopause.
Well, I'm glad Halle Berry's doing this. Then
Yeah,
this
yeah, I think it's great.
siesta sounds amazing. More people should do this. I'm going to suggest it
Hmm.
to my clients. I work a lot, almost all my clients are women. So, and a lot of them are getting to the point where they're moving into menopause and things like that. And it's affecting their mental and emotional health very significantly. So I help with that side of it. But
Hmm.
this is awesome. So cool. Those are the topics. That's what we got for y'all today. Hope you had a fun time. We're going to be doing more of these. So if you guys have topics, concepts, breaking news, uh, questions about supplements or the marketing industry in relation to supplement and healthcare, health and wellness marketing space, please drop them in the comments. Chloe and I would love to answer some more. Is there anything you want to leave everybody with, Chloe?
No, I think we nailed it today.
Hell yeah. Yeah, it's a fun time. I like doing these. Maybe do a little bit longer docket next time, but yeah,
Hmm.
this is a fun time. We got some big stuff coming up. So we've got expert interviews, we got some brand spotlights, and more. So be sure to follow and subscribe. We've got Dr. Brian, who we featured today. The research that he broke down is in the comments below. We're going to interview him as he's a science communicator, and he's doing this really cool series right now where he's breaking down supplements and like, is there actual science behind them? He just did ashwagandha. He's going to do L-theanine. He's doing all sorts of cool stuff and really going super deep into the research. So we're bringing him on. We're going to do an expert interview with him. We got Loosey Goosey coming up. They're a stress relief. They're trying to fight Zen pouches. They're the opposite of Zen. It's all stress relief. L-theanine, kava, rhodiola, and I forgot what the fourth ingredient is, but we're bringing them on and their founders to come combat the stimulant heavy space. And then Energy Bits, which is an algae company where like these little micro algae things. I don't know a ton about them yet. I'm still doing research for it, but it's a way to get microalgae, spirulina, like all these different things into your system through these little chewable gummy things. So those two will be on the main show. We got Dr. Brian coming on the expert interview, and then Chloe and I will be with you again next week and our host only stuff. So if you have any topics again you want us to dig into, let us know in the comments or hit us up on Instagram. We love hearing from y'all. But that's it for today's rundown. Thanks for hanging out with us on Decision Lab. Stay curious, stay healthy, and we'll catch you next time. Peace.
Bye, everyone.